Hello, the name's Dave Dee. We're currently in the banana warehouse, which is about 1 degree above zero this morning. We work in here all year round, 52 days of the year, 365 days of the year, 52 weeks I should say. We buy and sell second-hand furniture. We do removals, we do house clearances, we acquire furniture from shops where we deliver new furniture, we collect their old furniture. We take it away, sometimes free of charge, sometimes we have to charge. But for instance, if we're tipping three-piece suites, it costs us approximately £70 to dispose of them at the tip. That's without transport, without man hours. So there is a cost in everything. We are VAT registered, we have to pay VAT just like anyone else. I would like our kind Chancellor to give me 6 months free VAT instead of 2.5%. Stop messing about, Chancellor, will you? Anyway, going back to the house clearances, we do full house clearances. We don't just take the good stuff, we take the bad stuff. And sometimes there is only bad stuff because everybody watches these programmes on television now called, In the Attic and, Celebrity Caboot and all this sort of thing. All in our, not in our favour. We have charity shops that we have to compete with. They get all their stuff given. They don't have VAT to pay. They don't have tax to pay. And I've got all that to contend with. I have 5 full-time staff and 3 part-time staff. So they have to be paid. My wages bill alone per week is £1,500. That's without me PAYE, without me insurance. I have to have goods in transit insurance, public liability insurance, employees liability insurance, all these things cost. And when you think I've got to earn it all out of second-hand furniture. So, when I get a nice piece and I buy it cheap and sell it dear, that's only what I do for a living. It's only like if I was buying corn at £10 a tonne, drying it out and selling it at £100 a tonne, or whatever, or buying beef or pork or lamb. There is a profit to be made. And in this business I deal in furniture, and basically it's old furniture. I do sell a little bit of new furniture and modern furniture. I sell new beds and sometimes new 3-piece suites. But mainly, as you can see, antique furniture and second-hand, good usable solid furniture, which I have to go out and buy or do some sort of service for it. Someone will say to me, I'll give you that sideboard if you clear it rest of house for me. So I look at the sideboard and I think, well, I might get £600 for that sideboard. I've got to clear this house in about maybe 4 hours and get rid of the rubbish and pay for it to be disposed of and pay the staff. Each man are on approximately £250 a day, so you can guess what I have to earn and make a living out of. When you look at it, my profit margin over the last 2 years has been actually less than 1%. I'm not much into percentages lately, but my accountant assures me I've made no profit over the last 2 years, and I'm 1.5% out of pocket because literally I've had to borrow to keep the business going. It's an old, cold building. It rains in. It damages furniture, so you have to dump some of it. So we have a lot of excitement. We do enjoy our job. We enjoy it in such a way that when we go do a house clearance, someone will ask us, they'll ring us up and they'll say, can you come and have a look at this house clearance, Dave, and give us a price. So you'll arrive there and there's all the family sat round. There's 8 or 10 of them. They've just buried mum or dad or somebody like that, and they say to me, we've got £1,500 bill at the crematorium and we've got cars to pay for and all that, so we need to raise some money. So what we do, you have a look at the goods in the house, you have a look at the ornaments, the books, the records, anything that's saleable, music, the piano, the stereo system, 3-piece suite, carpets, light fittings. We look at everything, then we buy it. What we do, we probably give them a quote on it that we might offer them £500, we might offer them £5,000, depending on how good the stuff is that's in the house. So then we've got to take into consideration man hours, tipping hours, loss because of all sorts of different reasons. But then you'll arrive to do the house clearance about a week later, after they've decided on you to do it, because they don't only ask me, they ask other people to give them quotes as well. And half of the stuff's missing. The nice little jug and bowl, or the clock. Oh, well, Auntie so-and-so wanted that. But they're still looking for the same amount of money that you've offered them. So if you've offered them £5,000 for a house full of furniture, and there's £1,000 worth of stuff disappeared, it's gone to Auntie so-and-so and Mrs. What's-it next door, etc. So, you know, there's all them sort of things that we have to contend with. There is some niceties in the job, because I collect the odd piece of antique myself, and the odd piece of glassware and chinaware I collect. So I sort of keep them, take them home. My rainy day stuff. For over the last 12 months I've been selling my rainy day stuff. I had quite a large collection of very old push bikes, like the one that you saw earlier in the film. I had about 100 of them. I've actually sold them recently. They're actually going off into films and shows, sort of a heartbeat stuff, and this new one now, the postmistress has just got a new bike. That was actually my bike. I've forgotten the name of the show now, but anyway. We hire stuff out for shows and plays, and like the Theatre Royal, the theatres in Harrogate and Leeds and Bradford. We recently lent a lot of this stuff out for Steptoe and Son. Now, as a charity, we lent them it free of charge. They took it off for about 8 or 10 weeks, and they toured with it and so forth. And it was very nice putting my name in the brochure and saying Dave Dee loans us all these, but it hasn't brought me any business, which we was hoping it would. I mean, I have quite a large amount of stuffed animals, which we're not allowed to sell. So the taxidermy stuff, if it isn't licensed, we're not allowed to sell it. So they hired a lot of that. And when it came back, there were about 5 items missing, because people steal them. People do parties and fancy dress parties. And we lent a guy a load of stuff about a week ago. He's brought it all back, minus 2 helmets, 2 old wartime helmets. And we get £35, £40 each for those. And they've gone missing. They're lost. Oh, I'm sorry, one of our guests pinched them. I said, well, I'm going to have to send you a bill for £80 now, you know, for them. So that's what we do. I'll tell you all sorts of amusing stories that happens to us in the warehouse here. We had an occasion where a young lad brought a push bike in to sell us. I said, yeah, how much do you want for it? So I said, take £40 for it. So I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, I'll give you £40. Have you got any ID on you? And he had 2 or 3 pieces of ID on him and so forth. And said, yeah, that's fine. I'll give you £40 for it. So about 10 minutes later, another lad comes in the warehouse. He said, hey, that's my bike. He said, it's just been stolen down the road. He said, I've got a photograph of it on my camera, look on my phone. So I said, oh yeah, all right, yeah. Well, I said, I'm sorry. Yeah. He said, we've got a photographic number off frame. So I said, oh, well, I'm sorry, we've bought it. We've got the details and everything of the lad who brought it in. And I said, right, well, we better give you the bike back when we're going to be the loser of the £40. So about half an hour later, I decided to go off in town for a sandwich. And lo and behold, these two lads are sat straight laughing their heads off. They've just done me out of £40. These are the type of things that happen to me in here. Got to make you look pretty, haven't we? Eh? You're a good boy. Eh? This is Oliver. Oliver's my best pal. He's been with me 11.5 years. And he's got a girlfriend at home called Polly. And we've got two pups. We've got one that's 2 years old. That's Buster. And we've got Poppy. That's 6 months old. The story of Oliver is, I got him from a house clearance, just like everything else I have. From my shoes, to my trousers, to my jacket, to my dog. Even my car, got from a house clearance. When people die, you can't get it all in that coffin. You know, so people sell me it. Families sell me it. With Oliver, my sister was visiting somebody in Leeds and bought a little bitch, his sister. And she says, if you've got another one, I'll buy him off you for my brother, because I was looking for one of these dogs at the time. And the lady said, no, I've just sold it. She said, I've just sold it to somebody else. She said, but I'll give her your card, because she doesn't know whether her parents are going to take to him or not. So anyway, no more was said. About 3 weeks later, this lady rang me about dinner time on a Saturday, and she says, my mum and dad have just died. I've just buried them, and I've rung you about house clearances, but I understand you want a dog as well. And I says, yes. I said, that's Rapson. She says, yeah. She says, I met your sister at this house, and she gave me your card. My mum and dad, I bought them this dog, and they both died within a fortnight of each other. So she says, I'm ringing you to buy the dog and the house clearance. So I jumped in the car there and then, zapped over to Leeds, bought the house full of furniture, bought Oliver and put him in back at the car and brought him home that afternoon. And he's been with me ever since. And he's been a good lad, he's a good house dog. Although we missed the burglars at my house last night. That's they pinched me garden ornaments from the garden last night. So if anybody's seen any stone ornaments, a lion with a shield and an oyster-shaped dish in front of it, like a fountain, it's mine. It went missing last night. back again, Dave Dee. I'm going to tell you a little story about what's happened to me. When I left school in 1964, I went to work at a company called the NMU, which is part of Roundtrees. And I worked there as apprentice fitter, motor mechanic. And I worked there for about 4 or 5 years, and one of the managers used to say to me, go pick them crown wheels up and put them in the boot of my car for me. So I used to do this for about 12 months, and one of the other managers came to me and said, what are you putting them crown wheels in his car for? I said, well, I don't know, he asked me to do them, I'm apprentice, I do as he's asked me. Anyway, as I said, this was in about 1964 to about 1968. And about 1970, I left that company and went to work off somewhere else, and then eventually started working for myself. And about 20 years later, I was asked to go and do a house clearance in Acomb. And I walked into the side of the house where the sheds were, and I sniffed up and I said, oh, I says, who was the commercial vehicle fitter then? She said, oh, my husband. I won't mention his name on this. And I went into the shed and I recognised his tools, and I recognised the guy who actually was the motor mechanic, and I worked with him at the NMU. To cut a long story short, the lady says to me, do you know who would be interested in some of these at back at the shed? She said, I don't know what they are. So I walked round back at the shed, and there's a pile of 7 phosphor bronze crown wheels. I'd been accused of nicking them 30 years earlier. So I brought them back here, and our transport manager that knew all about this from the time still visits me. They call him Bill Evans, a nice chap. And he was the guy with the white coat on, he was God to us. So this is still talking about the same situation. I says to Bill, how much was these worth, Bill, in 1970? And he says, oh, they were worth about £200 each at the time. So anyway, I showed him where they'd come from, told him where they'd come from, etc., from this house clearance. So we had a good laugh over it, you know, me nearly getting the sack over it, etc. So 2 days later I took them to the scrapyard, and because it was a time when scrap wasn't very good, I didn't get £70 for the lot of them. So that's the end of that story really. But I can tell you lots of other stories. So yeah, this is Oliver, our mascot. Don't know whether I've told you before, but I got him from a house clearance. He came from Leeds. I bought him, brought him on a Saturday afternoon, and he's been with me ever since. I had a bit of a nervous breakdown about 4 or 5 years ago, and he was my mainstay. He looked after me. Never left my side, and I love him to bits. And he's still a good sire dog, so if anybody wants to use him for a sire, they can borrow him. You know. He has produced 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 pups, or his girlfriend has, in the last sort of 4 years, 3, 4 years. So yeah, he's a good little lad. He has to be clipped every 3 months, and that cost me £15. And as you can see, he's a good lad. He looks well. He's got good clear eyes. His joints and everything are very good, and he's right healthy for 11.5 years old. He's a good dog, because if you remember, dogs is every human year is 7 years. So I don't know what that adds up to, but I know he's a good old dog. So yeah, we was in a house a couple of weeks ago, and I'd been in there with the estate agents, and the estate agent had said to me, bring your dog in with you if you want. So I did do. So we went into the house, and it was only me and him, and we did the deal, and off he went, give me the keys. So there's Oliver and I in the house, and it was only new at this house, and I heard this shuffling. I thought, what's that? You know, I thought it's something in the house. Anyway, he runs off upstairs, trying to find it what it was, and we thought, well, I thought it's, you know, a cat that's got in or something like that, you know. Anyway, it was a bit of plastic on a window that were making a noise. It frightened me to death. They just buried this lady about 2 days before, and I thought it was haunted. But anyway, he went and found it, and he was showing me it was a bit of plastic on window that were flapping. It wasn't really haunted, wasn't the house.
Yeah, I just wondered if we should have a reshuffle while we're down here.
Well, yeah, I can tell you lots more stories, but it's just remembering them. Hi, Dave Dee again. Just another little quick story. was asked to clear a house in Fulford, and we went to clear the house. A lot of rubbish in it. It took us days and days and days to clear it. And the guy rang me a couple of days later. He said, "You haven't finished clearing the house, Dave." I said, "Well, I have." He says, "There was a shed in the garden, you haven't cleared the attic." All right, yeah. One of my customers I'm just waving to there. And anyway, we went up into the attic and we found a lot of butterfly bombs and a proper bomb-shaped bomb, a lot of German memorabilia and a German helmet and a German Luger. So anyway, we got all these items and brought them all downstairs out of the house because we had to lock the house up and give the guy the keys back. So quickly I rang Norman Wilde, one of our local policemen, and I rang him and said, "I found some bombs and bullets and guns in this house, Norman. Can you send somebody round?" So they did, and they closed all Fulford off for about 5 hours while the bomb squad arrived. That was the second time I'd done it with Norman, so he knew I wasn't joking this time. We found a proper bomb-shaped bomb about 3 feet tall, stood in a shed on its fins in Clifton, and he collected that for me as well. I sent the bomb squad to collect it. So that was just a quick story. There's a lot more to it, but the bomb squad dashed down to pick it up. I think they arrived about 5 hours later. And because it was a proper live bomb, they actually picked up. And Norman Wilde, who is now a retired policeman, lives still in York and still a very good friend of mine. One, two, three. This is Dave Dee. Bye-bye from me and bye-bye from Oliver. We've got lots more stories to tell you, but I've got to think about them. I'm getting old, you know. In fact, next week is my birthday. Friday the 13th, I was born at 1 o'clock, my mum tells me. So it's my lucky day. Okay, so bye-bye for now. Bye-bye from Oliver.